the Radio Democracy, go look inside Transparency International, then Corruption Perception Index for 2022, where show says Salon score 34 out of 100%. Well, we get with studio guests them at the program this morning. I go introduce them. We get Edward Kuroma, when our programs manager at Transparency International. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
And we also get Patrick Sandy, Director of Public Education and External Outreach at the Anti-Corruption Commission, waiting at before for Feds Corruption at Salon. Good morning and welcome to the program. Well, we don't tell on us, so we can look at the perception survey we Transparency International poll for the year 2022, and that particular report the show says Salon scored 34 out of 100%, and they can talk to the two studio guests them, where they can explain to listeners them and we viewers them on Facebook for get an understanding as to what in this particular perception survey they bought and how the Anti-Corruption Commission served on the work for ensure say then continue for fight corruption at the country. Well, Transparency International we do this perception survey. Now global movements where they work now over 100 countries them na the world for end injustice of corruption. And the main focus they on issue them where they impact people in life, and then they all people and working they in authority to account for the common good. Well, they don't do different perception survey them where them don't they pull over the past year them for show how country then they perform in terms of accountability, transparency, we come and the fight against corruption especially. Well, at the studio this morning where they can look at the latest reports where they don't pull for 2022, where I don't show now the percentage where Salon score and but before they can look at details of that particular perception reports the way Transparency International don't pull. I just don't tell listeners and reviewers and our Facebook say when I don't they work over the years for ensure say on affect injustice of corruption. Let me just get to a quick rundown for before we can focus on the latest reports where I don't pull how this particular work don't select for Transparency International, especially in Salonia, so we campaign the fight against corruption. How now don't they see the work in Salon?
Thank you very much, Mabel. Like what you say in your intro, Transparency International, we main focus now for fight for promote transparency and accountability in both the private and the public sector as a way for fight corruption. And we don't fight against corruption from the civil society point of view. And so we get the Transparency International movement, a global movement, like we say, and we get national chapters then over 120 countries. Then inside Sierra Leone, we now the local chapter. And like we say, we main focus now for fight corruption. And so over the years, waiting we be done they do as TI, because before we become TI, we were first called the National Accountability Group when we started in 2001. We now one of the leading organizations at that time. We start the crusade against corruption, because before 2000, corruption was like a way of life. Corruption now something we person go to publicly and talk against, because people themselves were there in high places, been they talk to them where they encourage corruption. Because if we can remember sometime in the past when we get a leader, we've been talk say who side and tie cow now they for it, meaning that any side where you day any kind way now they you for survive. So then they again mean the app, for make and people in the field say corruption a way of life. But when we start the organization in 2000, coming to 2001, we started for advocate that we need for get systems in place. We need for get laws in place in terms of fighting corruption. And so with the advocacy and with the support of international partners them and other local chapters them, in 2000, we've been get the first Anti-Corruption Act, and then the establishment of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because if you're talking about fighting corruption, something we've been done this since Adam was a boy inside Sierra Leone, and it don't reach to some kind of level we don't really undermine with development aspirations. As a country, we need for get a law, way the guide how the fight for go. Then you get the Anti-Corruption Commission set up then for take the lead in the fight against corruption. So we play a significant role in ensuring that we have that law in place, and also for the establishment of the commission. And then going forward, the commission started operations, and because of the height of corruption, the endemic nature of corruption at Sierra Leone, people them they see the corruption as a toothless bulldog. Then say the corruption, the commission, the back, but not the bet. And what in that mean? Then we come back to the law, because the law at that time not been give the commission enough powers, for letting really bet in terms of fighting corruption. So we also continue for engage, for make sure say and advocate for a review of that 2000 Anti-Corruption Act. So in 2008, we get a review of the 2000 Act, wherein the 2008 review now make provision. I'll give power to the commission for prosecute. Right. Because before that term day, the commission just they investigate, then send the file to the DPP office, and if the DPP feels say this case has not for going to court, now they stop. The one then feel say for going to court, then they send a court. Okay. And we know what in that means. If you get somebody we deserve now the government of the day, and the DPP, is a government appointed person, there are some dynamics around that. Right. So giving the ACC the prosecutorial powers, also help in this 2008 review for letting really begin for bet in terms of fighting corruption.
All right, for fight corruption as Salone na collaboration and support from government institutions. So over the past year, since we start fight, don't they get the support from government in terms of tackling corruption?
Yeah, definitely. They get the support of government to a very, very large extent. And talking about the support from government, we are focusing on the Anti-Corruption Commission, because the Anti-Corruption Commission are the leading institution, the government institution for fight corruption. So any institution, we also want to complement the effort of government from the civil society point of view for fight corruption. You get for work collaboratively with the Anti-Corruption Commission. We get a legal mandate, because there are places where you cannot go, but the Anti-Corruption Commission has a legal mandate for go and get information. So we don't get that collaborative effort there. Quite recently, the late last year, we embark on a study wherein we go for look at the recommendation them where the audit service been do an audit of the use of COVID-19 funds. In 2020, they pull out reports there, and we a lot of issues, around that. So as Transparency International, as a civil society organization, we want for go after some time for look at how far they don't go for implementing recommendation, and they for make things better in terms of using public funds. Because we know say that alone now it's almost like a culture wherein studies have been done, we get recommendations where people not they implement. And so we work with Anti-Corruption Commission for we get easy access, to those documents and get and then findings them for do the assessment. So we come out with that report there. So these are some of the ways that we are collaborating with the commission, and also currently with the SAV, now the steering committee of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, because we get a law, and the law is just there for guide we in terms of the legal framework, but we need to get a roadmap as to how we want to fight corruption, and that's at the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, and Transparency International Sierra Leone are part of that steering committee there, where they drive the process, for fight corruption, so that we go bring about change in our country.
Most times we then can do survey or research and pull reports, people they can want for challenge. Say, who sound on a source, who sound get this information we wanna put together for rank institution, or this in this case when at the country as a whole, the Transparency International rank. Who sound on get to a source in terms of data when I can put together for rank then country as to how then don't they perform transparency, and especially we campaign fight against corruption. Also, now they get to know data.
Yeah, thank you very much. Transparency International is an household name. We get a brand where we protect globally. So anything where we do, we make sure say we put integrity first. There are times we can pull a report, government or other people from other quarters can contest the report, but at the end of the day, the report can stand the test of time, because we know some of the reasons we make sometimes them, then can contest some of them report then they, because this is Sierra Leone. An example, in 2013, we been pulled the corruption barometer report, because we get two key reports them where we can pull as TI. The CPI, what we talk about now, that we get the corruption barometer. In 2013, we published the corruption barometer where rank Sierra Leone as one of the country them who side people and they pay bribe the most. And after that one day, we may get a lot of backlashes from government, from some other people with regards how we get with data and all of that, you know. But we know say we get independent because for that one day, we get somebody where we contract and come on the ground. Not so we serve the supervisor, Mastia Sierra Leone, is from the International Secretariat, come get the findings there and all of that. But despite the fact, say, people in question and raise hell around that, but what happened? Because waiting we pull now been through, waiting come out of that one day, when we get the pay no bribe campaign, where the UNDP support, and international body now go support something where they not say true nor inside it. And that was very, very successful in terms of the fight against corruption. Yes, they're now coming to the CPI. For the CPI, what we they do, Transparency International, not like they contract an individual for go on the ground and conduct the study day. Because we know say the country them plenty. The one that we focus on for this 2022 report, who they look at now 180 countries. And if you say they get somebody for going to all in country, then they are cost effective, the money plenty. So what thing we they do for the CPI, we they look at credible global institutions them, where they inform about how countries they perform, look at studies the way they conduct and put the one then they together, for let we do the ranking. For this 2022 report, we get 13 institutions then where we look at the report they all then do. And for Sierra Leone, now 9 of the one then they we look at for Sierra Leone specifically.
Mr. Sandy, we come on the Anti-Corruption Commission as it there for can talk about the Corruption Perception Index for 2022, which is come out. But before we go inside the report, Mr. Sandy, take me through some of the activity them of the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother, for this opportunity. I want firstly for commend Transparency International Global and Transparency International Sierra Leone for this report. Now, moving on to looking at the activities of the ACC, I firstly want for let family know say the ACC they now on aggressive public education and public relations. Anything we do, we make sure the public is well informed and adequately informed. Then also they now actively look into the Auditor General's report. We in 2021, we all aware about it. The commissioner been holding a press conference with the management team, and so now we get a team of investigators. They actually come through, and quite a lot is happening, and we also go inform the public accordingly through media releases in the serial form. So that also is happening, and I also want to inform the public about we support in the monitoring and supervision of the social safety net program. Now we handle the GRM. We've been get with Deputy Commissioner and the Coordinator of Operations. We go out for the post monitoring. So that payment is also ongoing from the time of the holidays right through. We also, as a commission, they do a lot in that. We also do with sensitization. We get with monitors, and we do with prevention work, which are systems processes review. We do with service charters. With MDAs, whether we not get or whether we need for update, because service charter also now an accountability tool. And there was also the come through with asset declaration process. We don't do declaration last year. We believe say we need for the analysis, get the data and begin for go after those we not do declaration. So quite a whole lot, they go on at the ACC. We don't do the monitoring of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. My brother mentioned within the part of the steering committee. And we also recognize institutions where don't do very well on the strategy in terms of compliance, in terms of implementation of strategy recommendations. That also is ongoing. We get with investigations, the part I don't mention, we get with prosecutions as well. So roundedly, the ACC is very busy. We are doing heavy work, and as such, we see how they come out in the reports or survey reports with people then they talk about as we did at the studio for now.
As you say, you don't explain so many activities them, and in a way the Anti-Corruption Commission don't they implement for ensure so na continue the fight against corruption. But panel activity then they let we look at, because the year 2022 don't go within 2023 now, and we move towards the month for election when at June. And the fight against corruption for 2023, how you go describe how the fight been sound like? Una see progress or stagnation for till una been seen up one place or una they move? How you see the fight?
We definitely they move. We they make progress in the fight against corruption, and the progress has been continuous, right from the time we get the leadership of the commission in the person of Francis Benkai-Fala. So we don't believe, say, we stagnate. We make incremental gains. If you look at, as I say, the persons where they do the declarations, we public education campaigns, the investigations we conduct, all of these have been incremental. And that also come out clearly even in the annual report we present to the president. We made that very clear.
But for 2022, performance?
Well, yes, as a commission we are, but I will still mention that corruption still poses a challenge, that everybody knows about it, even from the index we can talk. But the fact remains, as an institution, we do a lot into making sure that we reduce on the opportunities and control corruption.
You say corruption still poses a challenge, even though they make efforts with development partners and the feds. Waiting at this challenge where corruption still poses na Salone?
Well, the problem corruption pose one, now that we know they really get people then way they support the cause of the fight against corruption as we really expect. You still have some individuals where they present very negative picture about the fight against corruption. Then also we get corruption itself happening. People they know they try for come forward for report these incidences. You know, as an institution, we always they make this point. For fight corruption, not we sole responsibility, now we the lead. But it is the responsibility of everybody in Sierra Leone, irrespective of who that you be. Wherever you find yourself, now your own responsibility. So who say you see it happen, let the ACC know and we'll provide the support. But with the CC, some of these are not forthcoming and people then they rely heavily on figment of the imagination for just sit down and say, oh, corruption, they happen here, corruption, they happen at this other place. What we are saying and what we continue for encourage, firstly, let us own the fight. Once we don't own the fight, then I believe say we don't make ourselves part of the fight. And therefore, any issue, anything we will get that border on the fight against corruption, on accountability as well. Because we get the ACC with the fight corruption, they also address accountability issues. We get civil society organizations, they also play their part. And we have other accountability institutions, such as, for instance, the National Public Procurement Authority, we get the FIU, we get the judiciary, we get other players where I believe say the way into the fight, and it is very important that we all play with part significantly.
Okay, you mentioned say on another get support from people for the fight against
in totality.
Yes, against corruption. What that not them people day? Is it not from government or normal?
No, what I am saying is from civil society, from the media, we have people and the general public. People then they will get information, as they say. We know they come forward with that information to the ACC. They hold it back and they use other channels to put those information out. And some of them are not true. So that in itself, they affect perception. That in itself, they affect the fight against corruption. Now, these are the talk about the challenges where the fight against corruption they get. You know, so therefore, you get people then where we feel safe for can't join with, for collaborate with partnership based on big or we don't broad enough. But however, you still have people who, if not to this person where they say you for whole, you know whole, the fight against corruption is not moving at all. So these are challenges where the fight against corruption they pose. And you have people who will get comments and where they make, which are not good enough, but rather approach the institution responsible or other institutions as the case may be and discuss it with them. Probably you may not be getting it right. So now then issues, as they say, will really pose a serious challenge to the fight against corruption that can even go into perception.
As an institution, you make mention earlier, say, as far as una concerned, they make progress. We, according to una happy say, progress they pan the fight against corruption as Salone. But also, now like where somebody to go school, now when I don't see this exam, an international body, we're not Transparency International, don't mark una paper and it don't rank Salone say, we as a nation score 38% out of 100. For the commission, how na take this exam results we come out soon?
Oh yes, I think say, and I believe say we take this result in good faith. I've been on stated earlier. We welcome it, and there is a context to it. So we also have to explain the context, because as they say, as a commission, as a country, we have made progress in the fight against corruption, and we continue to make progress. So in as much as we talk about the score na 34, last year na 34,
yes, 34.
But we started. We have to also get this basis. My brother mentioned sometime in 2023, When the barometer report came out, they said Sierra Leone was a country where the bribery was at the highest. So from that point right through, we always make the analysis. We've been there 129, we've been there 130, and today we are at 110 by position amongst the 180 countries within the survey. We score at that time been there 29. We don't come to 30. We come to 32, and we are 33 above the sub-Saharan average, and equally we are 34 above the sub-Saharan average. Corruption, that is why I'm making the point. We accept this result. We are making progress as a country. As I say, we are improving in our ranking. The score remains the same because what goes in the score is huge. My brother talked about the different sources where then they get the data from. So therefore, these sources are so many, and they are independent sources. But as a commission, I want to tell listeners and the rest of the people listening to me that we are doing enormously well we take the problem of corruption out of Sierra Leone.
So the anti-corruption.
So within that context, the progress we don't make, 20 places we have moved upwards. We've been there 130, now we're there 110. We've been there at a score of 29, now we're there 34. We are not there yet. It is a fact. Because even by the marking of percentage, 0 means less corrupt. We have Scandinavian countries. We know, say, day 34, we have not done well. But the fact of the matter is, and I will make this point, that we don't make significant progress from where we were and where we are today, and we also intend for go as a commission and as an institution with the fight against corruption.
Scoring 34% out of 100, the ACC, una accept say, na the clear and real picture of the fight against corruption, na Salona the results come out so.
You not get for fight data. Maybe this is what we tell people. Data na in so far the fight against corruption they look up to in terms of perception. But what has gone into the fight against corruption, I still make the point, is heavy. But therefore, if Transparency International have said this, we agree entirely, totally. That is where we are. But looking at the context, they say, as an institution, we always come with a press release for state waiting at the thing will not happen with this report. We are collaborating very well. So the commission accepts it, and as a country, we are making progress, but we don't score 34, and we intend for make progress. And we are 110 out of 180 countries surveyed.
All right, Mr. Sandy Laolude, we'll come back to you later. That's Patrick Sandy, the Director of Public Education and External Relations. Now, the Anti-Corruption Commission, just bring Edward Koroma, the Programs Manager for Transparency International. We don't hear it from Patrick Sandy say the Anti-Corruption Commission accepts yes, London score 34 out of 100%, and then say they want for continue for work for make progress manifest against corruption. But this percentage where Salon score compared to 2021 when I've been 33 from una the Transparency International. Now waiting on a not say they missing panifet against corruption we make the number they fluctuate. At times they go up, at times they come down. And like this so now way plenty people that refer to this say now clear fail mark if you get 34% out of 100. Waiting I don't feel not seeing the problem panifet we make it challenging for exceed.
Thank you very much. The fight against corruption na something we very, very dynamic. Corruption na a living organism. Then can say where you fight corruption, where you raise the bar, people then go pass under. Where you lower the bar, people then go pass over. Because people then they survive, people then they sustain them families them from the corrupt practices the way they do. So always then they tend for fight back. And in Sierra Leone, for example, the fight against corruption, now something we started from 2000. And when we get the anti-corruption law, then we get the anti-corruption commission. And those countries where they score very, very high today, don't start the fight against corruption, don't get them systems there, so don't get them mechanisms there, so in place, way, way back before we start for put mechanisms in place for fight corruption. But one thing we need first of all for appreciate as a country, because I am first a Sierra Leonean before I begin work for Transparency International. So as a country, one thing we need for appreciate is the fact that we are making progress. But there are a lot of issues where we still need for address in the fight against corruption. because we want to get to a point where the fight against corruption and then progress they also they make. Now the international indices they also they translate now the lives of people, because that's not the question or the concern of the common man out there. Say yes, so they make progress, this they rank with this and that, but yes, still people they remain for be poor and all of that. That's the showy, the endemic nature of corruption at Sierra Leone. How deep corruption we don't eat into we developmental fabric. And so a lot of people don't be poor and very, very poor over the years because of corruption. So they around the area of the 30s, you know, we not go see much significant being translated in the lives of the people. So this is telling us that we need to go back, go to the drawing board, see how we can calibrate the effort as a commission and as a people, as a country, you know, for see how we go tie with Oja tight one for fight corruption because of the serious impact where corruption gets. So we need to go beyond the normal things for fight this corruption.
Over to you, Patrick Sunday again. The mid score of 50. Now one way I believe say Salone people be they expect say the country go don't reach by now, or they work towards reaching the mid score of 50%. For the Anti-Corruption Commission, in as much as when they expect everybody for cooperate with for fight corruption, but now they lead the fight against corruption. Waiting at the plans and strategies and we get for work towards the next score, at least let Salone reach the mid score of 50.
Yeah, the strategies are always up. I also want to let you pay attention to the ranking. You know, your emphasis is on the score, which I agree.
Yeah, the ranking is 110
you know,
out of 180 countries.
Exactly. And we have moved 5 places upwards in terms of the ranking. And also, you get to look at the current global economic challenges where they go on. And when TI, they do this report, they take into consideration of that and then other countries. But in regard to strategies, you see, in the fight against corruption, we are leaving no one behind. If you realize in we commemoration of International Anti-Corruption Day, you know, we don't bring on board all sorts of people. So quite recently, last year, we do the one winner with persons with disability and the informal sector, for instance. We don't target women. We don't target the youth. We don't look at education. So we are cutting across. In addition, if you look at the national anti-corruption strategy, the kind efforts where that strategy don't make and how consultative the strategy development also did. Because we bring on board civil society organizations, we go into communities, we ask questions, conduct focus group discussions, workshops, and as a result of that, they come up, if you like, experts, they come together and put this strategy. And the strategy, they speak to the national drive. So it means that the involvement of everybody, all shades of opinion, they are represented. So therefore, in the implementation of the strategy, they find out, say, it is not just about ACC strategy, it is about the national strategy. So that also done the show by a way of what we want for do as a commission for include everybody. Then we engagements, the ACC engagements with the whole through the public education and outreach. We try for actually bring a lot more people on board the fight against corruption. In fact, we don't talk about we whistleblower a reward. That also with the popularizer, we get to information desk. We try as best as possible for make we accessible to the public. So if the public want any information, they go to the ACC, we get to PR unit, they contact somebody there, and we make them. So we actually want to get everybody into the fight against corruption. We are having these challenges, not to say, yes, the opportunities have not been created by the ACC. We don't create that opportunity, so therefore want more people to come and report. For the score, yes, we definitely want for the in the 2 digits, or also for getting median score 50, because we know, say, that score is not where we should be. Right. But at least for a start, in terms of where we are, that is the point that the Commission of Sierra Leone is making. But going forward, we always move for let we do better, so that we can be in the category of nations or countries within the rate for them to do also very well in regard to fight against corruption.
Even though we Salone the try, we encamp corruption fight, according to some reports that we don't come on. During your explanation, you mentioned say una they get challenges because some certain people and they the old information we know the come with na the commission. But I know say you go aware about some whistleblower them way back we been come up with some issue them we later on people don't they say the commission I mean give them the support. You not think say these are some of the issues them we make people still they hold on to information, we make them not the guarantor now.
I disagree entirely. I don't know what you mean when you say people that count information will not do anything.
Yeah,
There is nobody at any point.
Like, the honorable and Semuso Minget and Dr. Lai, we been coming. People say una turn back, but then una not give them the kind of protection we they need.
You see, that is a different matter altogether. In terms of we talk about whistleblowing and waiting on information where somebody just put out to the public, because as a matter of fact, we don't try to let the public understand who is a whistleblower, whether they come for assist the commission with information, and also whether the person we just want some recognition or some notice. But that besides, as a commission, we make a point very clear about the case of Dr. Lahai in terms of waiting our role as an institution. For say, we they also call on other bodies. But the aspect we get for do with the ACC, wherein somebody you use whatever fake or some document you had, which was false, and acquire a position or you are promoted, we said it was an advantage. So that falls under our mandate. So basically, I don't want that we confuse the issue of actually who a whistleblower is as against those whom we want to support the ACC. People then we don't care, they don't support we. We don't do what we need for do. That information they provided to us, we don't work on them, and we don't able for charge people that took out based on that. We don't able for recover money based on that. You record the money we will recover from the Aberdeen women's. These are monies we go to them. You remember the recovery rate is over 40 billion in old loans now as we speak. All this now as a result of then information we get from whistleblower and also some we get from the audit report. So honestly speaking, I don't believe say those are they refer to as not supporting our work. They fall within that category of whistleblowing. Now, I also mention we even get a reward where would they say anybody where you can provide information to the ACC, we give you 10% of the 10% where would they withhold by way of the recovery or the non-conviction based asset recovery, where would they do? So that is in the public. If you have doubts, you come to the ACC, we clarify that. But if you just want the public for no say, oh, I don't say this, and therefore the people should wait. ACC has a mandate, we have to realize that. Other institutions, they also get a mandate for do. And so ACC should not be seen doing other institutions' mandate. At the end of the day, if you go to court, the court will have to tell you that is not your role. And so the institution being led by an astute gentleman definitely understands this very well. So when these things come up, we also look into them and see that, yes, institutions, PSRU, PSC, HRMO, look at what is it that you can do. Sieve it, peel it off, and then get to the ACC. We don't begin to press release in regard to the interventions we made for NATCA staff and also NRA, NATCOM then. So these are all the aspects we will talk about when you talk about those who really don't want to support the fight, but they just want to let the country or the ACC look bad in the eyes of people, and therefore they want to puncture the fight against corruption or the efforts we are making. That is not true.
All right. So Mr. Sandy, if somebody gets information about certain, institution, with now like the channel where the person for use for gets to una, and if una gets any provision where they protect people when a whistleblower them.
Yeah, let's start with the latter provision for whistleblowing. We get sufficient provision for whistleblowing. Sufficient. Firstly, we get the Act, the Anti-Corruption Act, Section 81 and Section 82. They talk firstly about the protection of informants when our whistleblowers. We also talk about the protection of witnesses. So therefore, if you come to as a whistleblower, witness, as an informant, a whistleblower, you not become a witness yet. Will they protect you sufficiently? And the methods of protection are there. They also in witness protection policy, a whistleblowing protection policy. They are all there. So if you get anything for do with whistleblowing, will they protect you? It starts with your identity. Will they take reports with anonymous? Or you come to we say, no, your identity remains confidential. You can also report in any form you want to. But I want to say specifically, to the question you asked first, if you get any report about anything, any institution, anybody, you can approach the ACC commissioner His lines are there in public. You tell him. A lot of people do so via WhatsApp. You go approach me as well. We go with PR unit. You get any member of staff of the ACC. We also go with report center, of course. That report center is there for people who maybe want for use the official channel. Even the ones you use to us officially, the commissioner can call the report center manager, engage them. And any report coming from the ACC, there is a process. But you can just access anybody and make a report, and we can channel it through and let it go through the process. The database number is given. It is sent to an investigator or investigators, as the case may be, if it falls within our mandate, or the prevention department, or public education, or you get to do with the intelligence outfit. They will do some intelligence around it. And after which, we will get to the bottom of it and then get to a logical conclusion.
All right, Patrick Sunday, continue for the between at the studio. We'll come back to you. I come with Edward Kuroma from the Transparency International as we continue to look at the scorecard of how countries then perform the perception survey on corruption we una do. Now for the country, then we get and right where they on top of the table in terms of percentage. Now waiting on a fair not say then do right, we make them reach yonder.
Well, like I say earlier on, some of them countries they also don't really start this fight against corruption way back at the time where we not being really considered. You know, for instance, talking about the laws, you know, where some of them countries then they get, because one they consider the legal framework in the fight against corruption. We then get to very, very strong. Then another thing with regards the laws in the fight against corruption, just now we may talk about whistleblower. Another law again we find for let we get as a country in the fight against corruption is the whistleblower protection law. Having a law that stands on its own in terms of protecting whistleblower, because that's very, very critical in the fight against corruption. Because we say we need the support of the people. Because, for example, in Sierra Leone, the Anti-Corruption Commission, you know, not get that manpower day for the all side, you know, at the same time. So you need people, we go this on side for raise the flag, for blow the whistle. And those people need full protection. We don't hear cases them in the past. We are in people blow the whistle, where they work within some institution, and because of that, you know, some man then lost their job, some man then victimized, some man them, and all of that, you know. So I'm talking about having the HRMO coming in also for play a role for some of their issues then where they outside, you know, the mandate of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because if you look at the two sections there inside the Act, where they mention about whistleblower protection, about the protection of witnesses, you know, there are a lot of dynamics and ramifications with regards whistleblower protection, where some of them, you know, now go be captured in those two sections. You know, some countries them really get a law which stand on its own, where they call a whistleblower protection law, where they capture everything where you go think about, where the whistleblower will be fully protected. So that is also some of the things that some other country has, you know, where we as a country not get. So going forward, you know, that is something we need to think about in terms of fighting corruption. Then also looking at like the audit reports them, where don't they come out, looking at the systems review where the Anti-Corruption Commission they do, which is very, very good. And talking about systems review, the Anti-Corruption Commission, they go into institutions them, look at the operations of the institutions from the anti-corruption point of view, and identify gray areas that will create room for corruption, and make recommendations as to waiting their institutions then they for do for address the area day so that corruption no go thrive. And when ACC do that study day, the recommendations then they left with the institution them for they implement that. And many a times those institutions know they commit themselves, you know, for implement the recommendations then they. And that goes beyond the Anti-Corruption Commission. So again, it takes us to waiting we refer to as the institutional will in the fight against corruption. The MDAs them, institutions them, therefore be committed in the fight against corruption. One provision where we get inside this current act, now that the MDAs them all forget what we call integrity management committees within the institutions them, where them go there within for take the lead for promote transparency, accountability, reduce corruption and all of that. But let me go back to the MDAs then they. Almost they don't really establish the IMCs then they. Almost of the IMCs then they work effectively. And until and unless, everybody, all the MDAs them, all institutions them come and be committed for fight against corruption, then it will be very difficult for like we really reach who we want for reach in terms of fighting corruption as a country.
I'm going to come over to politics and as we continue for talk about the fight against corruption. And one big word on the fight against corruption gets for do with integrity. Because now from people the integrity, then can mismanage at times where they made them lead to seeing them when they put on power in a corrupt practice them. From the fight against corruption, I don't get into these fights for so many years and still they continue. In terms of integrity, now the public sector, how you go describe that so far?
Well, I want to say in terms of integrity, people that still in the public sector institutions we still need for up the integrity. I'm saying this from the angle of where we talk about integrity management committees. You even find out as an institution, than at ACC, we focus a lot on integrity. We get integrity clubs, we don't establish, we get integrity management committees. But you see, one problem where institutions then get in our leaderships and commitments. Like my brother mentioned about, like, for instance, the audit report. Even the commissioner said it. You'll find out, say, the audit report findings where they come out year in, year out, they recall or they happen to be the same. And all are mostly because leaderships then, to a large extent, they do what they're supposed to do. Because if an auditor, external auditor or audit service Sierra Leone don't come, they don't put out in recommendations or in findings and say you have to do ABCD, why you know they up your game, why you know they do them. So failing to do all those can amount to your level of integrity not up to where we expect. Even on the aspect of the asset declaration process, that also now a key component of accountability. We also they speak a lot to integrity, because if you look at the Anti-Corruption Act of 2008 as amended in 2019, they talk about integrity in public life. So if you are in public life, and that demand don't come from the ACC, the body we're responsible for fight and lead corruption in this country, you for declare your income, assets, and liabilities. I believe, say, as a matter of fact, you for do them. You exit and you entrance. So, in the nutshell, what I try for say now that the aspect of integrity poses still a problem in our public sector institutions and from individuals, and these are the highlights of why I say so, and also as a commission, these are the issues we will face. For establish an integrity management committee, we have them in quite a lot of MDAs, but some MDAs and they are not quite functional. Some then they have just established them, how effective they are, because these are like a micro ACC within your entity or your MDA, wherefore they do a lot. And this fight, you have to own the fight. ACC will play with part, and we continue to do so. But there are also other players, and we expect that they do so likewise. So if you fail to, as you mentioned, the aspect of integrity is key. When you have high level of integrity, because from integrity, you talk about trustworthiness, you talk about honesty, you talk about credibility, and a lot more. And all of these, then really they feed into what we do. Transparency itself goes with integrity.
So with all the reports we want to get from the Integrity Management Committee, we want to get at the different MDAs, and other reports themselves we don't receive so far, where we talk about integrity in the public sector on a scale of 100, also you go place them performance?
Well, I will just put them midpoint. They are like 50, 49, 50. You see, because what we are saying here is very important in the sense that people in these MDAs, with all the structures here, that is why ACC emphasizes a lot on prevention. Probably if there are these things, there are the structures to prevent them from doing these things, they will not. But in terms of integrity now, what I'm saying, the prevention aspect, technology, things of people not handling money, it can go a long way. But so long you leave them on their own as human beings to operate, the level of integrity, as we speak, is really problematic. As an institution, we do our own level best. We get with policy and ethics unit, we do work with MDAs, we get with systems and processes review unit. But they can say you can take the horse to the water, but you know the force her for let drink.
So now,
probably then just the wait for let you come on.
What's the problem? Is it from the start, from the recruitment of the public servants, that they country they get them wrong?
It could be there, and it could even be you recruit somebody with high standards, it come into because where he or she finds himself, there are problems or issues, and they get involved in it. And some of them they are highly ethical and they are not criminal. Because you may want to say, what did ACC they do in all of this? You go be say somebody is not working well and an administrative issue, but it is not a criminal issue. So ACC may not need to come in and say ACC for go like indict somebody of an offense that is not in the act. We will not do so. But however, that is why they emphasize on the aspect of leadership. You should make sure they don't put you in charge. What are you doing? People, they get consequences or pay consequences for jobs that they are supposed to do where they know they do. Or if somebody go out of the line, you make sure you bring the person in line, but now with consequences. Some of these things are lacking. Right. So we forget that discipline there, we also get that muscle there for push things for let it happen. Otherwise, we know they see some of these things coming over and over again. And in one of the software they use or sources, when at the CPI, then at the World Bank Country Policy Institutional Assessment, ACC also, they work with the Ministry of Finance, that we're a member of that team. Right. We did look at how other MDAs also they work, how other laws are being done, because the World Bank is not about ideas. Then they look about implementation and evidence-based. Okay. So these are all the issues that weigh into this. So whilst ACC, they take leadership in the fight against corruption, and also we put Sierra Leone in context, we also look at other institutions, we get responsibilities that perform. Right. And if they fail to do so, it affects the rating.
Mr. Sandy, you mentioned, say, on don't start for look into the audit report, wages come on. This time around, what thing go different from ACC angle in terms of looking into this report, wages come out?
Well, basically, I don't know what you mean by waiting go look different. Waiting no more, I will assure you is that we are definitely going to take actions on the audit report. Actions have already been taken. Monies have been recovered. We definitely therefore get people where, as it would be, where need be, for go behind bars, they go behind bars. But as we speak, a lot of work, and the emphasis has gone into the audit report. As the commissioner said in his press conference, quick wins, we are getting those ones as fast as possible, especially when they come to recoveries. Those we have to charge to court. The one the way we say we have to do prevention work, we do prevention work. The one that we also for assist in terms of building their systems, we do so. But we are working closely with other sectors. You recall even the Ministry of Finance, I see them put out the standard operating procedures. But I want to emphasize the issues around audit. We need for pay attention to these audit findings. And as a country, we need for work on this. And as I say, it weighs in a lot on the CPIA, because even when you talk about Rwanda, where they make progress, on the CPI, Sierra Leone also go to study turn at Rwanda, then begin to look at what is responsible. And as I say, it is as a result of the several other institutions we really need for up the game and then come together with that of the ACC to see how they can able to implement these findings in the Auditor General's report.
All right. Many thanks for coming at the studio this morning. Patrick Sandy, Director of Public Education and External Outreach, the Anti-Corruption Commission. And finally, we come over to you, Edward Kuroma, Programs Manager for Transparency International, Nasalonia. As we wrap up the program, waiting at the message we left, especially for the public sector, because now some of the things they do, now the thing they look at, where at the end of the day, they rank the country as a whole. What's your message to them?
My message to the officials and the public sector, that the fight against corruption is a collective responsibility, and everybody now in only two corner for play in a role in the fight against corruption. We get the Anti-Corruption Commission where they take the lead, and then get outside the mandate stop. You get the MDAs them, the institutions them, get for be committed for make sure say they implement some of them regulations, there are some of them frameworks, some of them strategies them for fight against corruption. And people them within a public service for no say within the public service, then for supposed for put the interests of the people first. But many a times so they see people them in public service, their own interests now then they put first. So then they satisfy themselves rather than thinking about satisfying the people out there. So we must be patriotic, we must be nationalistic and we must work with integrity for ensure say wherever we dey, we work with integrity and do the right thing we're supposed to do for make sure say we make gains in the fight against corruption. Then also another critical area also in the fight against corruption is Parliament. Parliament gets a critical role also in the fight against corruption vis-a-vis the audit report, because the Auditor General, they do a good job for doing study and putting report together, and na they in work stop, and we present to Parliament na they in work stop, and Parliament now get the responsibility for look into their findings then they and call the people them come answer to some of them in the end. After that, put together the reports and the recommendations. But over the years, we don't see great lapses on the part of Parliament in terms of putting together those reports and also the recommendations. So we then call the people them, question them, then put a report in it together, the recommendation them, then we go follow up for ensure say, then do them and reform go take place at the institution. But because then not happen, I make year in year out, when you see the same thing then they occur with the audit report they come out. So we need for take them very seriously. This night collective effort, we all now with different corners them need for come together, the people them also of the country, for make sure say we join and for fight corruption. Without that, we're not going able to make meaningful impact in the fight against corruption.
Thank you, Ikana, the studio this morning. Edward Kuroma from Transparency International and also Patrick Sandy from the ACC. This edition of the program go left now.